Hello everyone, wishing you all a very good afternoon. How is everyone doing? Am I audible and visible to all of you? Sai Teja, Vishnu, Akhil, Raja, Bala, Jayant. Great. So I think in the last class we had started the Biot-Savart law and we had seen the general formulae for magnetic field due to a straight wire, magnetic field due to a curved wire. We had seen the general formula for a straight wire, curved wire. We'd also seen the formula for a loop on the axis of the loop, the type of magnetic field it creates. We also saw that a magnet, which is a magnetic dipole, acts similar to an electric dipole. The formulas are same. A current carrying loop also acts like an electric dipole. The electric dipole moment is NIA, where A is the area vector, N is the number of turns, I is the current. We also saw the formula for general field created by a solenoid. Yes or no? Now, once we have done that, there is one more way in which we can calculate the magnetic field due to some sort of symmetrical charge distribution, that is known as Ampere's circuital law. Now, before going into Ampere's circuital law, let us have a quick recap of four simple equations that you must be aware of. Number one equation is integral of E dot ds over a closed surface. This is integral of E dot ds. This round sign on the integral means it is over a closed surface. I told you what is a closed surface, what is an open surface. The surface integral of electric field over a closed surface is always equal to charge enclosed by the surface divided by epsilon naught. This is known as Gauss law for electrostatics. Yes or no? Do we know this Gauss law of electrostatics?
Yes, sir.
If you know the Gauss law for electrostatics, can you tell me what will be the Gauss law for magnetism? No, Gauss law for gravitation first. What is the Gauss law for gravitation? How can I write Gauss law for gravitation? You can use it similar to electrostatic field. You can use this Gauss law for gravitation to find out gravitational field. How does it look like? Anyone, any idea? How will Gauss law for magnetism look like? No one has any idea? So it will look like this. Surface integral of G dot ds. G dot ds, where G stands for gravitational field. So the surface integral of G dot ds over a closed surface will be equal to what? Mass enclosed. How much mass is coming inside this? Now what should I do? Instead of 1 by epsilon naught, what should I write? In place of 1 by 4, in place of 1 by epsilon naught, what should I write?
Pi G, sir.
What G? What G?
4 pi G.
4 pi G. That is correct. Now this becomes my Gauss law for gravitation. Have you seen this equation before? This is Gauss law for gravitation. Now since we are talking about Gauss law, let us now write the Gauss law for magnetism or magnetic field. We have not seen this. We will be seeing this, but since it is a time, let me let me complete it, because वैसे भी you must be knowing it, because you are on a crash course and you have already completed an airport. What is the Gauss law for magnetism? Surface integral of B dot ds over a closed surface. If I integrate magnetic field over a closed surface, what will I get?
Mu naught NI.
We will get zero.
Yes.
Flux, the magnetic flux over a closed surface is always zero, because the magnetic monopoles do not exist. If you have a magnet always has two poles. That is what, please try and understand. Magnet always has two poles. Now, this is the north pole and this is the south pole. Now, suppose I make a closed surface which does not have any pole of the magnet. The magnetic flux through this surface is going to be zero. Yes or no? Magnetic flux through the first surface is going to be zero because there is no pole enclosed. Now, if I make another closed surface, remember these are not loops, but these are closed surface. If I make another closed surface number 2, the blue one, I am enclosing both the poles of the magnet. Whatever magnetic field lines are going out from the north pole, same number of magnetic field lines will be coming into the south pole. So the net magnetic flux will be zero. Yes or no? Tell me. If I make loop number 3, if I enclose only one magnetic pole, only north pole, then you will say, sir, now the magnetic flux will not be zero. It will be still be zero, because whatever you do with a magnet, you will always create two magnets with a north and a south. So whatever flux is going out, same flux is coming in. Net flux will always be zero. I can repeat the same experiment with only having the south pole of the magnet, but even if I have south pole of the magnet, there will be one pole which will be the north pole. Whatever magnetic field lines go out, same number of magnetic field lines will come in. Therefore, magnetic flux over a closed surface will always be equal to zero. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
That was Gauss law for magnetism. Remember it. Now, it does not depend on the type of magnetic field. Magnetic field may be uniform, may be non-uniform. But if you have a closed surface, magnetic field will always be zero. Magnetic flux will always be zero. Three laws. Then I move to this E dot dl. How do I say this? It is the line integral of electric field over a closed loop. In this case, the gola means loop. In the upper wala case, it means closed surface. In niche wala case, it means closed loop. The line integral of electric field over a closed loop. So what does it mean if I move in a closed loop? What is the integral of E dot dl? What is the integral of E dot dl in a closed loop? This is zero. And this is known as your Kirchhoff's voltage law or Kirchhoff's loop law. KVL, Kirchhoff voltage law. In this Kirchhoff voltage law, you are moving in a circle. You are moving in a closed circuit. You start from one point, you come to the same point. There is no change in potential. Integral of E dot dl is the change in potential. Change in potential is zero, but this will be changed when you go into the chapter of EMI. Integral of E dot dl will not be equal to zero. Here, when you say electric field, this is not electric field. This is electrostatic field. There's a difference between electrostatic field and electric field. Electric field encompasses all types of field that are electric in nature. Electrostatic field is one of those fields which is created by a static charge. Am I clear? So when I'm writing E dot dl here, it refers to the field created by a electrostatic charge, which is electrostatic field. Am I clear? There is one more field whose flux, whose not flux, whose line integral over a closed loop does not come to zero. Do you know that field? One type of electric field, integral over the closed loop will not be equal to zero. Forget about this. Let's come to the last thing of this. Integral of B dot dl. Integral of B dot dl over a closed loop will be how much?
Mu naught Ni, sir.
Mu naught Ni. Mu naught into I enclosed.
Yes, sir.
How much current is enclosed? On similar lines, I can write integral of G dot dl. This will be the line integral of gravitational field over a closed loop. And how much will that be equal to? If I move in a closed loop in a gravitational field, what will be the line integral of gravitational field? Zero. Will you remember this? So these are the 6 different equations that I have made. Now this fifth one is known as Ampere's circuital law. Ampere's circuital law, integral of B dot dl magnetic field, the line integral of magnetic field over a closed loop is equal to mu naught into current enclosed by the loop. Will you remember this now?
Yes,
Do you
sir.
understand this? Can I have some reason that you understand this, sir?
Yes.
Raise hand gives me more confidence that my words have reached you. Great. Okay. Ampere's circuital law, the line integral of B dot dl on a closed curve of any shape, remember, shape doesn't matter, is equal to mu naught multiplied by the current enclosed by the loop. Remember, line integral is independent of the shape of the loop and position of wire. B dot dl does not mean that magnetic field is zero. Remember, integral of B dot dl is zero. It does not mean that B has to be zero. B can be zero. B may not be zero, but it means that there is no net current passing through the path. That this path does not have any net current which passes through it. Am I clear? Now, whenever you take this mu naught Ni, you must be very careful in choosing the sign of current. The current has the same signs as the sense of dl. It's very simple that if you are moving like this, if I call this anti-clockwise, then outwards currents are positive and inwards currents are negative. So that is how you take it. I hope you understand it, right? For example, if current is going like this and you are moving like this is anti-clockwise. So when you are moving anti-clockwise, outward currents are positive, inward currents are negative. So in this case, your inward current will be taken as negative. Am I clear with this concept of the direction of current?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can use this same signature in finding out the integral of B dot dl. You may have such a question for this loop L2, for this loop L3, different loops are there. If you look at the loop L2, you are moving like this. So outwards are positive and inwards are negative. So I4 and I1 will be positive and I2 will be negative. When you look at loop L1, L1 is like this. So I1 will be positive, I2 will be negative. If you look at L3, it does not contain any current. So the line integral will be zero. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Now this concept of uh, Ampere's law, Ampere's circuital law can be used to find out magnetic fields in some various cases. For example, magnetic field due to an infinite wire. I hope you know magnetic field due to infinite wire. How do you find it? The process is given right there in front of your screens. You assume current, infinite current like this, then you assume a point, then magnetic field will be moving in circles. You make a circle. B dot dl integral is B into 2 pi r, that is equal to mu naught into I. I is the current enclosed, so the magnetic field becomes mu naught I by 2 pi r. This is how you can find magnetic field due to a infinite wire. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, you can have this magnetic field. We have done this, right? We have done magnetic field due to infinite wire. You can also have this magnetic field due to a infinite hollow cylinder. As you can see, infinite hollow cylinder. Current is uniformly distributed on the entire circumference. What will be the magnetic field inside and what will be the magnetic field outside? The radius of this cylinder is given as r. If the point is inside, what will be the magnetic field for any point inside? Tell me. What will be the magnetic field for any point inside? This is outside point. What will be the magnetic field for outside point and what will the magnetic field for inside point?
Inside zero, sir.
Inside zero and outside? Inside the magnetic field will be 0. Outside it will be same as magnetic field created by a infinite wire, and this is how the graph will look like. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Pakka? I hope there is no doubt here. So we can use this Ampere's law in basically these cases where the current carrying conductor becomes infinite. In those cases, we can definitely use this Ampere's law. For example, in this case of solid infinite current carrying cylinder. So this is a solid cylinder. Cylinders are always solid, and it has a current density J, which is I divided by pi r square. I hope you know how to find this out. How do you find this out? You have to find it for r, which is smaller than capital R being the radius, r greater than or equal to capital R. Remember, when small r becomes equal to capital R, your answer should come same in both the cases, whether you do it for inside wala formula say, yeah, you do it for outside wale formula say. You remember this?
Yes, sir.
What is the answer for r smaller than radius of the circle? Remember, this is the answer, mu naught j r by 2. It is directly proportional to r. Do you remember this? You don't remember this? Note this down. How it is done? Similar thing, integral of b dot dl, integral of b dot dl becomes mu b into 2 pi r multiplied by the mu naught is equal to mu naught multiplied by the current enclosed. Current enclosed will be current density multiplied by pi r square, small r square. That is how you get the magnetic field inside this wire. Remember, this is the vector form of magnetic field, mu naught j cross r. Remember this vector form because a question can come on this vector form. I'll tell you that question and I probably will solve it. This is how you can find out magnetic field inside this solid cylinder. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then you can use similar concept and find the magnetic field outside the cylinder. Outside the cylinder, the total current enclosed is I, which is J into pi R, pi capital R square. So the formula becomes like this. Mu naught J into pi R square, pi and pi will get cancelled. J R square divided by 2R. Vector formula looks like this. And this is how the magnetic field looks like. Remember this point on the circumference. Magnetic field is maximum here and the value is how much? Go from any formula, the value will be mu naught I by 2 pi capital R. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Anyone has any doubts on this?
Sir, how J cap cross R cap, sir? B bar equal.
Just remember it. Right now, I see this formula has been devised in such a way that you get the direction as well as the magnitude of this. I will not go much into how this formula is derived. You just have to see the direction of J cross R. For example, this is your solid cylinder. This is the point, and you want to find the magnetic field at this point, point A. Remember, if the current is going into the plane like this, into the plane, and this is your R vector, you just do J cross R, and you will get the direction of magnetic field like this. Are you getting my point? So magnetic field is basically moving in circles, and it is proportional to, and the direction is given by J cross R. It is same as DL cross R. Remember DL cross R, Biot-Savart law comes in the same form. J cross R. Instead of DL, it becomes J. J is a vector. I is not a vector, so I cannot call it I cross R. So in actual Biot-Savart law, we call it DL cross R. Here it becomes J cross R. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Now, based on this, I can devise a very nice question which is based on a question given in Nirodho. I'll try to replicate it. I hope you have seen this question. This question has come many a times in question. So many a time in paper, and just I can just replicate it here. Let me see if I can replicate it. So basically what I have is I have an infinite solid cylinder. I have an infinite solid cylinder. You can see this infinite solid cylinder. And in this infinite solid cylinder, I have a hole. This is the hole in this infinite solid cylinder. It is infinite solid cylinder with a hole. Do you understand the scenario? Infinite solid cylinder, the current density is J, and the current density is going inside, so it is inside. Now I have this hole which is obviously not concentric with this. So this hole, I have a infinite cylindrical hole here, and this hole, the radius vector of this hole is given by vector r. So this vector r gives me the center of this hole with respect to the center of the cylinder. Now there is a point inside this hole. There is a point inside this hole, point P, whose position vector is given by vector L. Its position vector is given by vector L. Is the question clear to all? The question is, find out the magnetic field at the point P. Find out the magnetic field at the point P. How will you do it? So you have to find magnetic field inside the hole.
Principle of superposition, sir.
Principle of superposition. How will you apply the principle of superposition? Tell me. First of all, what will I assume is, I will assume that this vector that connects this center is given by, let us say, x vector. So first I will assume that there is no hole. There is no hole. So we have a current density J going inside. So magnetic field created by this entire thing will be mu naught into, what was the formula? What was the formula for magnetic field inside the
JR by 2, sir. Mu naught JR by 2.
J cross R? So here R becomes X. So J cross X by 2. Do we understand this? This becomes magnetic field due to the first one, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
J cross X, the entire cylinder without the hole. Then you find out the magnetic field created by the hole, the red one. Or I should not make, I'll make it the black one. Not the red one, the black one, because the figure is given by the black thing. So I will now find a magnetic field due to the black one. Magnetic field due to the black one will be mu naught. Now, if this current density J is taken as positive, the current density in the hole will be, to create the hole will be negative. Yes or no?
Sure.
Minus J cross L divided by 2. Yes or no? So this is the magnetic field created by the hole. To create the hole, what I have done, I have superimposed a negative current. The original current was going inside, so I have created current outside. What is the net magnetic field? Net magnetic field will be the
B1
super.
bar minus B2 bar.
No, beta, there is no way of subtracting vectors. We can only add vectors. Hai na? B1 plus
Yes, sir.
B2.
Yes, sir.
We add it. So what happens is mu naught by 2 comes out. It is J cross X minus J cross L, right? J comes out. It becomes J
J cross
cross
R.
J cross R. So that is the answer. And this is the only way you can get this. That is why you must know what? You must know the vector relation. If you don't know the vector relation, you will not be able to solve this question, whatever you do. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
That is why this vector equation is essential. I hope you understood the significance of this vector equation. Okay, shall we move ahead? Okay, then you can move on to this one. What is this? This shows a cross section of a large metal sheet carrying current along its surface. The current in the strip of length DL is K into DL. Find the magnetic field at a point P at a distance x from the sheet. Now you must understand that this sheet is infinite. This sheet is infinite. This sheet is infinite. Remember, we found out electric field due to infinite sheet. What was the answer? Electric field due to infinite sheet. What was the answer?
By 2 epsilon naught.
Sigma by?
2 epsilon naught.
This is the magnetic equivalent of it. That was electric field due to infinite sheet. This is magnetic field due to infinite sheet. Are you getting the relation?
Yes, sir.
How will you do it? You will do it by the principle of Ampere's circuital law at point P, as you can see. Do you know the answer for this one? Have you seen this beta before? So how do you do it?
Yes.
You create a loop, magnetic field, current is coming out. So at point P, magnetic field will go like this. You take another point P on the opposite side, magnetic field will go like this. You create a loop, rectangular loop. This path and this path, magnetic field and DL are perpendicular, so they go away. So what is the total line integral of B dot DL? Total line integral of B dot DL, these two paths have cancelled, so it becomes B multiplied by 2L or 2 times BL, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That will be equal to mu naught into current enclosed. Here K is the current per unit length. I call it lambda. Lambda is current per unit length. Do you remember the meaning of lambda, current per unit length?
Yes, sir. In electrostatics.
Yes, it is a current per unit length. So the answer becomes magnetic field becomes mu naught lambda by 2. What was electric field? What was electric field? Sigma by 2
2
epsilon
epsilon.
naught. See, 2, 2. Epsilon naught in the denominator, mu naught in the numerator. Remember, one dimension less. यहाँ पे it was charge per unit area. Here it is current per unit length. That is the only difference along the sheet. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Pakka? Now you will say, sir, what is the vector equation for this? Tell me, what is the vector equation for this? I told you the vector equation for the upper wala one, na? Infinite cylinder. What is the vector equation for this? Don't worry. Draw a vector like this of the position vector P. Call it X. I draw X unit vector because there is no X coming here. So the unit, so the vector equation becomes mu naught lambda. It's a vector. Current per unit, I'm taking it as vector by 2 cross X unit vector. Are you getting my point? It's lambda cross X. Okay. If I take lambda as a vector, else I have to take DL as a vector. So instead of, if you don't want to write it like this, you can write it like this. That is equal to mu naught lambda by 2 DL cross DL unit vector cross X unit vector. You need to have cross product of two unit vectors, where DL vector is the current carrying element in the direction of current. Got it? So either you can write it like this, or if you take lambda as a vector, you can write lambda cross X unit vector. Okay? Clear? Anyone has any doubt on this?
No, sir.
Okay, I think this is enough. I mean, I can make a lot of questions here, but again, if I make too many questions, I don't have that much time. This was a thin sheet. Now the next question is a sheet, a thick sheet. What is the magnetic field due to a thick sheet? I think this is given in SC Verma somewhere. Thick sheet. Inside the sheet, outside the sheet. Nothing changes. You just have to apply Ampere's law in that way. Nothing else changes. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, shall we move ahead? Here we have to cover a lot of codes, and There is very less time that we have in our hands. So we'll have to move. So we move. Force on a moving charge. Everyone knows this. It's Q V cross B. That is the vector equation. Q has to be put with sign. Wherever you have vector equation, you must put Q with sign. The scalar equation is F is equal to Q V B sine theta. But remember, it only gives you the magnitude, and hence you put all the values as positive. To get the direction, you use right hand thumb rule. Right hand thumb rule means you do the cross product of V with B, and that will give you a direction of magnetic force. You will say, sir, how will you find the direction of magnetic force on a negative charge? For a negative charge, you do V cross B. That force will be on the positive charge. You reverse it, direction reversed, it becomes force on the negative charge. Got it?
Yes, sir.
You must remember all these small points about this. Very important. You might get a question on these points. Force is perpendicular to V. It is perpendicular to B. So it is perpendicular to the cross product of V and B. Now, since force is perpendicular to velocity, it does not do any work, but it is perpendicular to displacement. So this force does not do any work. That means magnetic force cannot do any work on this charged particle. So magnetic force cannot do any work on this charged particle. That means what? Magnetic force cannot start a particle from rest. Magnetic field cannot stop a particle which is moving. Magnetic force cannot change the direction, cannot change the magnitude of velocity. It cannot change speed. It cannot change kinetic energy. What it can do? It can only change. It can only change. Magnetic force F can only change what?
Yeah.
What?
Direction.
Direction of velocity. It can only change direction of velocity, but it can only do that when V and B are not parallel. If V and B are parallel or anti-parallel, angle is 0, 180, then it cannot even do that. So magnetic force can only change the direction of velocity provided that magnetic field and V are not parallel or anti-parallel. Yes or no? You know this?
Yes, sir.
You must be knowing this. You can do this simple problem based on this problem based on vector equation. Whenever you get trapped in finding the force on a charged particle, you can always use vector equation, convert its velocity into vector form. Here it is a three-dimensional velocity. So in any ways, you cannot do it by moving your hands, because three dimension you will not be able to find it out. You can only move your hands when the problem is in two dimension, because the answer will be in the third dimension, then only you can get it. But if the velocity is in three dimension, you cannot just turn your hands and find out the direction. So then you'll always have to use the vector form. Magnetic field is given, V is given, Q is given. You can find out the value of force. Once you get the value of force divided by the mass, you will get the value of acceleration. Please solve this question so that we can move ahead. We can move ahead. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well done. Now there could be a trick question here. A trick question means that you know how it is done, but if you forget it, you lose precious marks. For example, this one. A charged particle has an acceleration of this in a magnetic field this. Find the value of x. How will you get the value of x? How will you get the value of x? Any idea? Remember, acceleration is force per unit mass. Now, force is perpendicular to magnetic field. So acceleration has to be perpendicular to the magnetic field. So F dot B or A dot B will always be equal to will always be equal to
Yes, sir.
0. Remember these small things. Force is perpendicular to magnetic field. Force is also perpendicular to velocity. So remember, instead of this magnetic field, they could have given velocity, a charged particle at acceleration of falana in a magnetic field moving with a velocity something. Find out the value of x. Again, remember, force is perpendicular to B. Force is also perpendicular to V. Will you remember this?
Yes, sir.
Both the things are true at the same time. Both the things are true at the same time. So don't forget this. Then you can have some simple cases of particle moving in this magnetic field. If V is 0, then F is 0. If Q is 0, then F is 0. If the angle between V and B is 0, then also force is 0. So force can only happen when the angle is acute or 90 degrees or obtuse. It cannot have happen at 0 degree. It cannot happen at 180 degrees. Yes or no?
Sir.
So what happens when the angle is 90 degrees? We all remember that it moves in a once a path, circular path. In fact, this is the case of UCM. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
The radius is mv by qb and it has an angular velocity and a time period. Both these angular velocities and time period are independent of the velocity. Yes or no? As you can see here, the time period is 2 pi m by qb and frequency, angular frequency here is qb by 2 ym. They are independent of velocity. This frequency is also known as cyclotron frequency because your cyclotron works on it. Yes or no? Whenever you have this question where this particle is entering a magnetic field, you just have to remember two things. First is what is the radius of the circle, and the second thing is where is the center of the circle. You might have seen this question where you have magnetic field on this side of the page, and then a particle, let us say a positively charged particle, is entering the field making an angle of theta. You have to find out after how much time it comes out, at which point it comes out, what is the distance traveled by this particle. The first part or the main important thing to understand in this question is how to find out the circle, the center, and how do you do it. Remember, the velocity will be given to you, so you do V. This is V. Magnetic field is inside, so inside V cross B, and you see this line. This line gives us V cross B, and here is the center of this circle. The radius of this circle is mv by qb. So you know the radius of this circle. How does the particle move? So you imagine that you are holding at the center, you are holding this pen, and the charge is here, and you just move it like this. If I just move it like this, tung 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 tung, it just goes like this, and it will come out from this point. It will come out from this point. Then you can answer each and every question. You can find out using simple geometry. This angle is theta, this angle is 90, so this angle becomes 90 minus theta, so this angle becomes theta, so this angle becomes theta. Total angle becomes 2 theta. You can find out how much time it spends. You can find out how much distance is traveled using trigonometry. You can find out how deep it goes. Everything can be done if you just find where is the center of this circle. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then there are one category of question where you have this proton, alpha particle and neutron moving in circular paths. You must know what are the ratio of their masses and what are the ratio of their charges. You just remember the ratio of their masses and the ratio of their charges. You should be able to solve such questions. I've already sent you this sheet. Did you get this sheet in your group?
Yes, sir.
You can just see it from here. Now, this is the question that I was referring to. This is a very fundamental question given in all the books. Exactly the same figure that I had drawn, a positive charge Q. Mass m enters in a uniform magnetic field with a velocity v as shown in the figure. The angle is given as theta. Find the time spent, distance traveled, impulse of magnetic force. There are 3 questions given. Can you solve this for me? Can you solve this question for me? So that I can just understand that you have got the premise of that paper. What the answers? Well, the answers are pretty simple. See, this angle, as I told you, is already 2 theta. So you can reuse omega t is equal to not theta, 2 theta. It moves on a total angle 2 theta, misprint. So time becomes 2m theta by qb. Yes or no? Distance traveled is arc of the circle, r multiplied by 2 theta. So this is the distance traveled. What is the impulse? Impulse is change in momentum. You find the initial momentum, you find the final momentum, and you get your answers. Yes or no? Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Everyone got this? Then if I just change the question and make it negative charge, now positive charge, the center was coming outside. For a negative charge, the center goes inside and everything just changes. Got it? Now, instead of spending an angle of 2 theta, it spends an angle of 2 pi minus 2 theta. Do we all get this? Do we all get this, beta?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then there are other questions in this category. Again, this is a question taken from S.C. Verma. The magnetic field only exists in this region. So what will happen if D is greater than or D is smaller than? If D is greater than the radius of this circle, what happens? It will come out at some angle. If D is smaller than, it will rotate by an angle of 180 degree. Yes or no? Sorry, I said ulta. If D is greater than mu by qb, D is more than the radius, it will rotate by 180 degrees. If D is smaller, it will just come out at some point. Do you know this question or not?
Yes, sir.
Anyone understands this? See, these are the conditions. If D is greater than mu by qb, it rotates by 180 degree and comes out. If D is smaller, remember this diagram. This is a very important diagram. I hope all of you saw this diagram. This is how it comes out of that thing, right? You all get this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what happens if the angle is not 90 and this is what we discussed in the first class? I think it follows a helical path. What do you mean by a helical path? It rotates in circle but also moves forward. Rotates in circle, always also moves forward. Rotates in circle, also moves forward. Yes or no? That is the helical path, which is shown here. Which is shown here. See, V and B, there is an angle. So we can cut V into 2 parts, V cos theta and V sin theta. V cos theta part will keep continuously same. V sin theta will remain same in magnitude but change in direction. So it will rotate in circle. Between any two paths, between a turn of 180 degrees, whatever distance it travels is known as the pitch of the helix. The screw cut threads are helical threads. So you rotate the screw, it goes inside. How much distance it goes inside in one complete rotation is known as the pitch of the helix. We know this, right or not?
Yes.
So we can find out the two things. First thing is, what is the radius of the circular path, mv by qb. Instead of v, we put v sine theta or v perpendicular. I call it v perpendicular. And the time period remains qb by m. It is independent of the velocity, so it remains qb by m. Yes or no?
Sir.
Now, there's a complete analysis given here in this sheet, which I will ask you to go through. If someone asks you, how does this particle rotate? In which plane it rotates? Which plane it rotates? It rotates in the YZ plane. And you can easily find out at any point in time what is the velocity, what is the acceleration, what is the position vector of this point. We will discuss more of these in the next class, in which we will be discussing this helical path. We will be also discussing what happens when you have combined fields, because 2 or 3 cases you should know which can come. I told you one case which was a cycloidal case, right? When electric and magnetic field are perpendicular and you leave a particle and something happens. So we'll discuss all those cases. We will discuss 3 or 4 simpler cases. We'll discuss the cycloidal case, and we'll also discuss this one. I'll give you an idea of how to find the velocity at any point in time. We'll discuss that. So meanwhile, what you do is you can just go through this sheet. If you can go through this sheet, you will find out the other cases. So our discussion becomes more fruitful when you come back. Okay. Chalo, I'll wind the class today here at this point. Is there anything that you want to ask? Please go ahead. Else from my side, because all these things we have to discuss in one class, only 2 minutes left. I can't discuss them. So we'll discuss in the next class. Okay. Is there anything that you want to ask? Please ask.